Brian here for Yes You Can Play Guitar, and today I want to give you all, especially you beginner guitar players out there, a good service and giving you a really important piece of advice. With the guitar in the beginning, it takes a little bit of time. It takes patience to really get things going. For many reasons, many of which I've talked about in previous videos. But one of the things I want to talk to you about today is sometimes when you have friends or family that don't really understand how it works with guitar, and sometimes they'll do things to try and help you, but it's actually not a good service. So, I have a new student that started recently taking guitar lessons with me. Great guy, he's a student. Money is very tight for him right now. And every time he's come in for a lesson, he's had a friend or a family member lend him a guitar to use for his lessons while he is searching for an affordable guitar for himself to have permanently. Now, on the guitar, it's very important that you are able to have a playable guitar. The space between the strings and the fret is called the action. You want it set up properly and nicely to make it as easy as possible for your fingers to play and to fret the strings to make the notes sound. In the beginning, it's a little bit painful for people. But sometimes when people have a guitar that's been sitting in their cellar, their closet, their back garage for 20 years, they're not taking care of the guitar. There's different things going on with the cold, with the humidity, that's going to cause the wood to react to it. That's why I often tell everybody it's very important to stay on top of the humidity where you're storing your guitars. Well, this fellow had a friend that lent him a guitar with the action that was so wide, it was like this between the strings and the guitar neck. You could almost build a house in that space. That's an unplayable guitar, and for a beginner, they are going to give up because learning the guitar at the very beginning can be frustrating, but when you have to push down so hard to try and make the notes sound, it's going to be very painful. I remember a story I told in one of my first videos on this YouTube channel a couple of years ago that I had a student 10, 12 years ago. The student was a good kid, but his dad was very cheap. He'd say, I want things as cheap as possible. I don't want to spend any money. And the guitar that the kid had, the strings were lifted so high and they couldn't be adjusted that it was hurting his fingers. He was almost crying when he was playing, and I told the dad, get him a playable guitar. This is not setting him up to succeed. This is setting him up to fail. The dad didn't care. Cheap, cheap, cheap. Well, unfortunately, the kid only took lessons for a couple of months and then he quit. I quite frankly can't blame the kid. And the dad was out to lunch with things cheap, cheap, cheap. Even getting my lesson payments out of him became a bit of a challenge, and I had to put on my ugly face. Some people might argue that I have my ugly face on all the time, but when I have to collect money from people, it gets really ugly. And it's too bad. Great kid. He wanted to learn the guitar, but he was set up for failure. Same thing sometimes when your friends and family lend you guitars or do things to try and help you, and they have no concept of how a guitar should be. It should be set up nice. It should be set up properly with proper action, and at least a playable guitar, not something that your Uncle Jed's had down in the cellar for at least 3 or 4 years or 40 years for all you know, and the guitar has all kinds of damage done to it. Just a friendly public service to everybody out there for beginners. Make sure if you're going to start on the guitar, use a playable guitar. Don't just kind of take whatever someone happens to lend you or some piece of garbage that's been sitting for God knows how long and it's not playable. Remember guys, you want all the things to line up to succeed on the guitar. If you have an unplayable guitar, there's even less chance you're going to stick with it. Friendly public service reminder to you guys. Remember guys, practice hard, practice smart, and we'll see you soon.